Welcome viewers to our next episode of Expert Speak series, where we've been bringing to you various experts from different areas of agriculture to share their insights, best practices, and help the farming community out there. Today, my guest is Dr. Ashok Alur. He's the director at Center of Excellence for Farmer Producer Organizations. He carries over 20 years of experience in agriculture, higher education, international cooperation, natural resource management, farmer institutions, among others. He has held many senior positions across different organizations globally. He has also served as honorary expert for the food security programs of Mozambique and Switzerland, and member on regional committee of UNDP and Israel Technology Community, and many other committees as well. So Dr. Ashok, a real privilege to have you with us here today, and looking forward to speaking to you.
Thank you, Karthik. Would you like to take it to the question answer session, or
yes, sir. So we will.
We can start.
Yes. So my first question is, how do FPOs actually help farmers?
Very interesting question, Karthik. As you are aware, India has got a huge number of small and marginal farmers who constitute over 80 to 85% of the entire farming sector. So next to China, India is the country having largest number of small and marginal farmers. As you are aware, these small and marginal farmers face several challenges. Whether it is with regard to availing of inputs, procurement of inputs, availing technologies on hybrids, varieties, and several other technologies required for farming. And then also, the most important challenge that they face is with regard to marketing of their produce. So these are the three major challenges, I should say. There are many other challenges. I will not go into depth of the challenges faced by the small and marginal farmers. Many of us are aware of it. So we have seen several institutional mechanisms to address this, and India has seen the entire cooperative movement. But one thing I would like to make it very clear here: the cooperatives that were set for the benefit of farmers, could not address all the requirements of the farmers. And with that, government was trying to look at different modes, or coming out with new institutional mechanisms. So it is based on the YK Alerts Committee report in 2002. Government decided the farmers also should have a new institutional framework wherein they should have all the principles and practices of cooperatives, and also they should be able to do the business the way the private sector organization do.
Okay.
So these farmers producer organizations are nothing but the hybrid models between the cooperatives and the private sector institutions.
Okay.
And these are basically the member-owned institutions. Here, farmers are the shareholders. Nobody else other than the farmers or their institutions can become the members of the FPO. And they have a designed, management system in place so that they manage their institutions effectively and, address various issues, challenges, problems faced by the small and marginal.
Okay. So thank you for setting that context, and you also spoke about some of the key challenges which some of these farmers and FPOs currently go through. So taking that forward with respect to challenges, what have been some of the challenges faced by FPO when there is a difference of opinion that arises among the members of, say, small marginal landholders vis-a-vis the larger ones, and how do such things get resolved?
This is a very important area. See, for success of any institutional mechanism, we need to identify and address the challenges. We have done a very thorough, study, I should say. We have been practically handling all these, challenges faced by the FPOs. So if I have to categorize them, we have challenges relating to farmers. And when farmers become the members of the FPO, see, there's a lack of awareness about FPOs among the farmers. There's a difficulty in mobilizing farmers to become members, identifying the farmers' interest groups, and then clubbing the farmers into it. Selection of right promoters for the registration of the FPO. There's a potential interference, of the local leadership, political leadership, in selection of the FPO leaders. And also there is, when we try to bring in all sorts of farmers, the medium and large farmers always wish to dominate the entire institutional mechanism. So these are the challenges relating to farmers. If you look at as I mentioned to you in my earlier introductory question, one is these are the institutions wherein there are shares membership collected by the farmers. So when it comes to share collection, we have a lot of challenges. One is lack of confidence of farmers in the FPO as an organization, because they have burnt their fingers by becoming members, by contributing money to them. And then what is the amount to be collected as the share amount, deciding the quantity of share amount to be shared put by the farmers, and then convincing the farmers to pay their share. And many times farmers, they want to go away, walk back with their shares. So there are a lot of such issues. These are the challenges we find them in share collection. When it comes to management of the FPOs, I was mentioning to you, these institutions are managed by the farmers and who are the members of the board of directors. So about 15, minimum is 5, maximum is 15 members they are called as the board of directors. They are responsible for the day-to-day overseeing business, everything, entire management of the FPO. When it comes to management of FPO by the BOD, the board of directors, so there are a lot of skills required to manage an institution. So in that regard, if you look at the existing challenges that we are facing, is a complete lack of FPO management skills, the lack of financial management skills. They don't have HR skills, business skills, bargaining skills, and sometimes it's also the lack of mutual faith between the directors, board of directors. And sometimes there's a groupism between the directors. Out of 15, 7, 10 will become one group, another 4 will become another group, like that. So these are the issues or challenges relating to board of directors. When it comes to appointment of the chief executive officer, we have several challenges there. We don't have a designed program for training the CEOs, potential CEOs, non-availability of candidates, lot of, we have not defined what education and experience they should have. When we look at people, they come without any business experience. They have very poor HR qualities, poor managerial skills, lack of coordination between the BOD and the CEO. This is another big challenge. Sometimes they fight and there are issues with that. So, and very high attrition rate. When you appoint a CEO, they use this FPO as a springboard, gain little experience and jump to other institutions. So these are the challenges there. When it comes to challenges pertaining to mobilization of institutional credit, this is another big challenge that the FPOs, when they want to do their business, they need to mobilize certain funds from the banks and other financial institutions. And when you go to any institutional credit, so then they say there are lengthy procedures in the banks. They apply all the terms and conditions to this. And when basically it comes to they have to justify their proposals. And many times if one BOD has a default in his name, then the entire FPO will have a problem. So they don't have tangible assets to give as a security to the bank for getting the loans. So all these things are the challenges faced by the FPOs as far as availing the institutional credit is required.
Okay.
And when it comes to equity grants, it's basically around 15 lakh rupees is given by the central government to each FPO. So even in getting that equity grant, they have several challenges because they have to prepare a workable business plan. They have to prepare all the required documents. The list of documents is quite long and there's a lengthy procedure involved. When it comes to the challenges, with regard to policy, see, many times, people who are involved in the implementation, people who are involved in the establishment, there are a lot of, lack of awareness about the statutory guidelines, policy related information. There is a difficulty in the flow of information to people at the helm of affairs. And also there is a lack of awareness about the new schemes of the government among the people. So all these things, and if you look at the central policy and the state policy, they are exactly not similar. There is again a difference. So these are the challenges pertaining to policy. And then when the challenge is related to mobilizing the government schemes, the government institutions have been now used to all these days. They have been giving these support and schemes to individuals. Now they have to flow the entire system through the FPOs. So it has to be accustomed. They have to also accustom, and they also have to come out with guidelines and directions how to do this through the FPOs.
Okay.
And we also have another big challenge with regard to produce market. This is a very important challenge we always see in the FPOs. See, for example, as a farmer, you have shown certain quality, certain variety. I have crop is same, but my variety is different. Correct. Your variety is different. Correct. When I want to bulk it and sell it, there is no uniformity in the quality. And a big buyer, a bulk buyer, wants to have a uniform quality. So in that regard, we face a lot of difficulties. So it means when right from day one, we have to guide them, train them, educate them. That suppose if they have selected 3 to 4 crops, they have to go with the uniform varieties, sowing dates, operations. All those things are to be informed so that the business is made easy and comfortable to the FPO. And the last one, I should say, the challenges pertaining to infrastructure. These FPOs, basically, if you look at the reasons for distress sale of commodities by the farmers, is basically they don't have proper storage facilities. So the FPOs want to set up storage facilities. They have to avail, get to the land. They have to develop the structure, infrastructure, and all those things. Basically, cleaning facilities, drying facilities, sorting facilities. All these things are required. So in that regard, these are some of the important challenges, I should say, because we have been dealing with these farmers institutions, FPOs, day-to-day basis. I have a long list of challenges that are faced by these FPOs, and we need to come out with solutions and help these FPOs to address these issues.
Very interesting. There are multiple challenges at various fronts, and I think that holistic approach is what is required to address them. So my next question, Dr. Ashok, is how can how FPO can generate common assets for farmer members, and whether stress has been given enough to address the local and regional requirements to avoid malnutrition rather than growing crops to just meet the industry requirements. What are your thoughts?
There are two issues. A very interesting question you are asking. When it comes to business aspect, we look at having economies of scale. Yeah, we want farmers to definitely produce certain commodities, not 101 commodities and in very small quantities. That will not fetch any business support to them. But in the meantime, we always guide them, help them through our training programs, through our capacity building events, to see that both food and nutrition security is taken. Right? So we talk about integrated farming systems. Even if they are not able to do it on their entire farm, as far as family needs are concerned, they need to produce a variety of crops so that their family need is taken care. So those such practices are being promoted. We guide them, we help them. But when it comes to availing the benefits of economies of scale, we always guide them to restrict to few major crops that are suitable to their land, that are suitable to the climatic conditions prevailing in their area, and those commodities which have a better demand in the market. So these three things we try to align and guide them.
Okay. So do you think that FPOs always consider environmental degradation while selecting a crop rather than simply focusing more on the productivity aspect of it?
I think this needs more and more awareness generation among the farmers. Not that farmers are not aware of this. Farmers are aware of this. For example, I will give the example of farmers who are producing this paddy, farmers who are producing sugarcane. The amount of stress these crops put on the environment, basically when it comes to soil and water, is enormous and huge. So we need to help them, guide them, show them the way that the combination of other crops can fetch them better price than these crops. One, we help them to conserve water and also preserve the soil resources for a long-term sustainability. Because overuse of water, overuse of chemical fertilizers, definitely they will harm the quality of soil, health of the soil. So as a part of technical training programs, we always guide them, help them. I mean, looking at the local situation, we guide them what are the systems that are suitable for them to adopt, especially with a focus on soil and water health management.
Okay, okay. So, Dr. Ashok, you are part of many committees, and you've also looked at from an international standpoint how things are happening. So, what future changes do you visualize in the functioning of FPOs so that our farmers get maximum benefit and improve their quality of work and life?
Very, I should say, thought-provoking question, Karthik. See, we have seen different institutional mechanisms prevailing in Indian context.
Yeah.
As far as farmers' institutions are concerned, I should say we are the pioneering country to have and promote different farmers' institutions. We have seen their role in addressing the issues of the farmers and resolving the challenges faced by the farmers. But when it comes to farmer producer organizations, as I was mentioning to you in the beginning, they have all the facets of the cooperatives.
Yeah.
All qualities of cooperatives are completely embedded in the FPOs. We also have the component drawn from the private sector, especially with regard to business and management.
Correct.
We want these farmers' institutions to be managed by them, marketed, all those marketing aspects to be operated by them the way the private sector does. It means this is one institutional mechanism or a collectivization of farmers which can address several problems faced by the farmers. And the amended Companies Act of 1956, as amended in 2013, makes a provision for farmers to institute their collectives under Companies Act, avail the benefits. They can do trade, they can do business right from Kanyakumari to Kashmir. There is a free trade, provision made for them, and they can also run their custom hiring centers. They can run their processing units. All those, provisions are made in the act to help these FPOs. So, to my knowledge, this is the last avatara of farmers' institutions. You, me, and everybody who is involved in the, in working for the farmers, people who are concerned with the farmers and their business, it is our duty, it's our fundamental duty, I should say, to popularize these institutional mechanisms.
Correct.
Help farmers to understand how these institutions can be managed in an effective way, how agriculture can be done on a business scale, so that they benefit. I tell you, Karthik, in the beginning, I was telling you, 80% of our farmers are small and marginal, who own less than 1 hectare of land. And the subdivision and fragmentation of land will never stop. It is going to happen. It will continue to happen. In that case, the only possibility is notional consolidation of holdings based on the crops that they are growing through FPOs. This is the only possibility. You cannot physically amalgamate and consolidate the land holdings again into big holdings. It is not possible.
True.
One. And this institution mechanism addresses most of the challenges that I listed in the beginning of my talk, whether it is pertaining to procurement of quality inputs, cost-effective way, or providing technical guidance, support, and field level support to farmers, providing custom hiring facility to promote mechanization on the small farmers lands, and then addressing the farmers marketing related aspects, and also helping them to have scientific storage facilities, processing facilities, value addition, and linking them directly to the end users or the consumers. So I should say farmer producer organizations have I should say very potential future, provided we make them or we build them on a very strong foundation right from day one. Otherwise, they will have a lot of issues and challenges to become sustainable on a long-term basis. So we should look at them as a real rural enterprises. and build those entrepreneurial qualities in the farmers.
Very, very interesting. Very nicely put that this is the last avatar that it's in, and it's our collective responsibility to work together and creating that ecosystem which will help them to sustain and grow in the future. Dr. Ashok, thank you once again for your time. Really enjoyed our conversation, and looking forward to more conversations in future. Thank you.
Thank you. Namaste.